Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. We're honored to be joined by former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. He represented Georgia's 6th District in Congress for 20 years. He co-authored the contract with America that helped usher in a Republican majority in 1994. Welcome back to Newsmax, Mr. Speaker.
Glad to be with you.
Government takeover of health care, the job situation, the auto industry and banks, bringing terrorists to New York City for trial in civilian courts, closing Gitmo, traveling around the world apologizing for America, and deciding not to go to Germany for the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Do you see a backlash building against President Barack Obama?
Well, I think there's a backlash building against the entire secular socialist wing of the Democratic Party. I think that whether it's Speaker Pelosi or it's Majority Leader Reid or it's President Obama, all of them are arousing the American people to defend America against very left-wing radical ideas.
If the Democrats muscle through government-controlled medicine and some form of the cap-and-trade national energy tax, can you envision 2010 becoming a throwback to 1994 with huge Republican gains in Congress?
Well, if you look at what happened in Virginia, where it went from 53% for Obama to 59% for the Republican candidate McDonald for governor. You look what happened in New Jersey, where it went from being 57% for Obama to electing the Republican Chris Christie by 4 times the margin that Christie Whitman got back in 1993. I see patterns building as people realize that this is a job-killing Congress and a job-killing administration, and an administration that is weak on defending America. And I think you could easily have a bigger backlash in 2010 than we had in 1994.
What do Republicans need to do to make that comeback?
I think, first of all, they have to be the alternative party, not the opposition party. They have to have better solutions for jobs, better solutions for defending America, better solutions for energy, better solutions for health than the left does. Second, I think you've got to run candidates everywhere. Don't give up a single seat anywhere, and run candidates at every level, from school board to city council to all the way up to the state legislature to Congress. Third, they've got to win the argument. They've got to go out and say to the American people, there are only a handful of really big decisions. You decide which team you want to have. And I think most Americans are going to pick jobs and prosperity over high taxes and big bureaucracy. Most Americans are going to pick an American energy plan over bowing to a Saudi king or hugging a Venezuelan dictator. And most Americans are going to choose protecting American lives over protecting the rights of terrorists.
There have been very loud and angry Tea Parties and town hall meetings and protests and demonstrations in Washington. What is Congress not getting? Is Congress hearing any of this, and what impact are American voices having on Congress?
I think you have a struggle underway between two sets of voices. You have the secular socialist left, their labor union, trial lawyer, and academic allies, and this is their one chance to try to get to ram through the kind of radical America they want. And then you have the whole rest of the country. So if you look at various polling numbers, for example, in Arkansas, you now have better than a 2-to-1 margin against the health bill. And yet you see Democrats voting for the health bill, even though the state's 2-to-1 against it. In Maryland, you now have a Democratic freshman who's behind by 53-to-29. I mean, these are huge margins, much bigger than just the Tea Parties. And yet it's kind of like they walk into a room in Washington and they do what the left wants them to, no matter how loud the noise is back home.
Will Obama's attacks on Fox News backfire, do you think?
No, it has backfired. Fox News is up 20% in viewership since he began attacking. I'm convinced Roger Ailes gets up every morning hoping that Rahm Emanuel or David Axelrod or somebody will attack Fox that day.
Now, I understand you endorsed the Republican Party-sanctioned candidate in New York's 23rd Congressional District, Didi Scazzo-Fava, over conservative Doug Hoffman. Considering that she withdrew from the race and threw her support behind Democrat Bill Owens, do you have any second thoughts about that endorsement?
Sure. Look, first of all, I think it was a mistake to have nominated her in the first place. And obviously, if you could go back and do it over again, you would have done everything you could to get the Republicans to sit down with Mike Long, the head of the Conservative Party, and find a candidate who was acceptable to both Republicans and to Mike Long. And there's some evidence that if you had done that, you might have been able to actually elect somebody. Unfortunately, that's not what happened, and the result is that we gave the Democrats a seat which had been Republican since before the Civil War.
Sarah Palin has been a lightning rod for liberals. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think she drives them crazy. I think that the fact that she is plain-spoken, she's unafraid, she is willing to articulate the values of sort of small-town and middle-class America, in a way that I think the left, the left thinks women candidates are fine as long as they're on the left. But that a conservative woman really doubly offends the left because it hits right at the heart of what they think is their prerogative. And because I think she's winning many of the arguments. So the truth is she was much more experienced before the last election than the president was.
Could Sarah Palin make a viable presidential candidate down the road, and
Sure.
if so, when?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on what she wants to do. I mean, you have to say that somebody who has, huge crowds turning out. I talked to a reporter recently who was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with 2,500 people at a book signing. I mean, I'm a book author, and I'll tell you, the handful of times in my life I've had over 1,000 people. I thought that was pretty cool. So she's having huge crowds. She's going to, I think, have a big base if she wants to run. And whether she can translate that into the nomination and then into the general election, we don't know. But she certainly is a viable candidate if she wants to be.
What thoughts do you have about running for president in 2012?
My thoughts are that we should spend all of 2010 trying to sweep the House and Senate races and the state and local races. And we should do everything we can to have John Boehner replace Nancy Pelosi by January of 2011. And then we can all get together and talk about running for president in February of 2011.
All right. How are the Republicans in the House and Senate doing in their minority role, in your judgment?
I think they're doing pretty well, but I think they need to focus more on being the alternative party. They need to focus more on how they would solve problems. And they need to have a greater discipline of communicating over and over. It takes enormous repetition to get messages across in America, and all too many leaders get bored before they get the message across.
Speaker Gingrich, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time and for joining us here on Newsmax.
Good to
It's
be
really
with you.
been an honor, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.
Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.